The night was thick with tension. Every shadow in the Pride Lands stretching long and strange, as if aware that something monumental was about to unfold. The wind whispered warnings through the tall grass, carrying scents that spoke of enemies unseen and alliances untested. Kion stood atop Pride Rock, muscles coiled, eyes scanning the horizon, sensing that this would not be another ordinary battle. The circle of life itself seemed to tremble, as though aware that what was coming would challenge not just claws and courage, but the very ideals of leadership. The war that would define true kings had begun, and the Pride Lands would never be the same. The Lion Guard had faced many threats before, but none like this. An army unlike any seen before crept along the borders, glitches, driven by ambition and cruelty, their strategy meticulous, their strength terrifying. Kion felt the familiar pulse of the roar stirring uneasily in his chest. It responded not only to the danger, but to the weight of responsibility, to the lives of the Pride, and to the knowledge that this time, victory would not come from strength alone. Leadership demanded more than courage. It demanded wisdom tempered by sacrifice. Bunga growled low, sensing the tension, his claws scraping the rock beneath him. "Something feels wrong," he muttered. Fuli paced the edge, tail flicking, eyes sharp. "There's more than wrong, Bunga. It's calculated. They've studied us, they've watched." Besh nodded, aware that no amount of brute force could face an enemy who understood both the terrain and the weaknesses of the defenders. Ono flapped his wings, scanning the sky, noting movement patterns in the distant clouds. "They're coming in waves," he said, urgency in his voice. "And they're not stopping until they take everything." Kion inhaled deeply, feeling the weight of every life in the Pride Lands pressing down on him. He knew that battles were not always won by strength. Sometimes the bravest thing a leader could do was to plan, wait, and inspire. But this enemy thrived on chaos, on fear, and on division. Every decision Kion made would ripple through the circle of life. A misstep could mean disaster, not just for the Guard, but for every creature that called these lands home. The first clash came before sunrise. Shadows moved like waves across the plains as the enemy approached. Lions, hyenas, and creatures bred for war surged forward, testing the Pride Lands' defenses. Muga, a young lion the Guard had taken under their wing, leapt into the fray, agility and courage guiding his every move. He had trained for years under Kion, but nothing could prepare him for the raw chaos of an invasion of this scale. Every roar, every swipe, every strategic strike mattered. The Pride Land's fate hung on balance, not brute force. The battle raged for hours, sunlight breaking over the horizon as dust and smoke mingled. Kion roared, his voice amplifying the courage of the Guard, rallying creatures who had never before fought alongside lions. Fuli's speed became a blur, striking enemies before they knew what hit them. Besh's strength created shields and openings, saving lives and protecting the weak. Bunga's fearlessness drove the enemy back, daring them to strike where they could not. Ono's precision from the sky coordinated attacks, guiding the Guard and allies with unerring accuracy. Together, they fought as one, a force defined not by power alone, but by unity, intelligence, and trust. But even the Lion Guard was tested. The enemy adapted, splitting into units that attacked simultaneously from multiple directions. Fires ignited across the plains, smoke choking the air, and creatures panicked, some fleeing into dangerous territory. Kion realized that victory would not come from confrontation alone. He needed strategy, cunning, and a risk that could either save the Pride Lands or doom them. Kion climbed higher on Pride Rock, scanning the battlefield, feeling the roar guide him to opportunity. "We need to divide them!" he shouted, voice carrying above the chaos. "Draw half to the gorge, the others follow me." The Guard understood immediately, moving with precision honed through years of training. The enemy, confident in their numbers, was caught off guard. Muga led a squad to flank from the south, striking at supply lines and disrupting formations. Fuli's speed and Ono's aerial guidance created confusion among enemy ranks. Besht and Bunga protected herds and injured creatures, ensuring the circle of life remained intact even amid war. The enemy commander, a lion of immense size and cruel intelligence, recognized Kion as the central threat. "Take him down!" it growled, voice like grinding stone. But Kion had prepared for this. His knowledge of terrain, combined with the guards' unity, created traps and diversions. Rocks tumbled, fire pits were manipulated, and the enemy's coordination collapsed. One by one, the enemy leaders were isolated, forced to face the Lion Guard where they could not escape. Even as the battle seemed to tilt in favor of the Pride Lands, Kion knew the war was not yet won. Leaders are tested not when things go right, but when chaos threatens to consume everything they hold dear. One miscalculation, one moment of pride or doubt, could undo hours of struggle. Muga faced the enemy commander directly, teeth bared, courage blazing. But the commander's strength was overwhelming. Just as the young lion seemed doomed, Kion intervened with the roar, amplifying his presence, inspiring Muga, and disorienting the enemy. Together, mentor and student struck in unison, a testament to training, courage, and trust passed down through generations. The battle reached its climax at sunset. Smoke and fire painted the sky red, reflecting off eyes filled with determination, fear, and hope. The enemy, realizing their advantage was gone, retreated in disarray. Survivors limped back toward the outlands, leaving behind those too injured or unwilling to move. The Pride Lands were scarred, but standing, Kion and the guard regrouped atop Pride Rock, surveying the field, aware that the victory was not only in survival, but in the preservation of unity and balance. As night fell, Kion gathered the guard around him. "This war has tested us," he said, voice steady despite exhaustion. "But not all lessons come from battle. We've learned that leadership is about more than strength. It's about courage when fear is overwhelming, wisdom when danger is unseen, and trust when the stakes are highest. True kings are not defined by conquest, but by the lives they protect and the hearts they inspire." The land itself seemed to respond, a gentle wind sweeping across the plains as if carrying approval. And the stars twinkled with a brilliance that reminded every lion that even in darkness, hope survives. Muga sat close to Kion, eyes reflecting the firelight and the lessons learned. "I understand now," he said softly. "Being a lion isn't just about fighting. It's about standing for something bigger than yourself." Kion nodded, proud of his student, knowing that one day Muga would carry the weight of leadership with the wisdom he had gained on the battlefield. But the war had also revealed another truth. Threats are never fully gone, and peace is always fragile. Kion felt it in the roar, a subtle tremor that reminded him vigilance must never cease. The Pride Lands may have won today, but leadership required constant readiness, the courage to act when necessary, and the humility to listen when guidance came from unexpected places. True kings are defined not just in battle, but in every decision, every protection of life. Nay, every moment when fear whispers and they answer with courage. The next morning, as the sun rose over a land still healing, creatures slowly returned to normal routines, cautiously optimistic, yet aware of the fragility of peace. Kion and the Lion Guard patrolled the borders, repairing the trust between the herds and predators, ensuring that the circle of life remained intact. Mua's confidence grew, and his instincts sharpened. For the war had shaped him as much as it had shaped Kion, teaching him that courage alone is not enough. Wisdom and unity define true leaders. That night atop Pride Rock, Kion gazed at the horizon, reflecting on the battle. Every roar, every strategy, every act of bravery had been a test. But what set this war apart was not the strength it demanded, but the character it revealed. True kings are those who survive not just by muscle, but by heart, by foresight, and by the ability to inspire loyalty and courage in others. The Lion Guard had proved themselves not merely warriors, but guardians of the values that made their kingdom strong. The story of this war would be told for generations, of a battle fought not for conquest, but for protection. Of lions who faced insurmountable odds with unity and courage. Of the lessons learned about responsibility, sacrifice, and the heart of leadership. The Pride Lands endured, but every lion knew that peace would require vigilance. Every decision carrying the echoes of this defining conflict. And among the heroes, Kion's legacy, shared with Muga and the Gar, would remain. All who came after that, the measure of a true king is not the size of his roar, but the strength of his heart and the wisdom with which he guides others. The dawn came slowly over the Pride Lands, painting the sky in streaks of orange and gold, but it brought no comfort. The battle of yesterday had ended, but the war that defined true kings was far from over. Kion stood atop Pride Rock, gaze fixed on the distant horizon where the enemy regrouped. He had seen the retreat, felt the weight of survival, and understood that victory today did not guarantee peace tomorrow. Re-instinct screamed caution. Every heartbeat reminded him that leadership was a constant test, and every choice could tip the balance between order and chaos. The Lion Guard gathered around him, each member bearing the marks of battle. Bunga limped slightly, pride in his stance, masking exhaustion, while Fuli's eyes burned with relentless determination. Besht's broad shoulders carried not only his strength, but the weight of lives he had saved. Nono's wings twitched nervously, ready to scout and warn at the first sign of danger. Muga stood close to Kion, young but already tempered by the battlefield, his gaze reflecting both fear and fierce resolve. "This isn't over," Kion said, voice firm. "They will return, stronger and smarter. We need to prepare not just to fight, but to protect everything we hold dear." Their preparation was meticulous. Kion led patrols through hidden paths, mapping vantage points and escape routes. Fully practiced high-speed maneuvers to strike with precision. Best trained with the herds to move swiftly and create barriers when necessary. Ono scanned constantly from above, learning enemy patterns, while Bunga practiced stealth and distraction tactics. Muga observed, asked questions, and executed maneuvers that tested his understanding of strategy. A reaction, every practice, every lesson, was a thread woven into a tapestry of readiness. The Pride Lands would not merely survive, they would endure, and the Lion Guard would define the strength and wisdom of leadership itself. But even as they trained, whispers of doubt spread among some of the younger lions and creatures of the Pride Lands. "Can we truly withstand them?" they asked. "They are numerous, fierce, and cunning." Kion's answer was simple, yet unwavering. Strength alone does not win wars. Unity, courage, and wisdom do. Stand together, and you will see how far loyalty and trust can carry you. His words echoed across the plains, inspiring those who had faltered, reminding all that true leadership was as much about guiding hearts as it was about commanding claws. The enemy, learning from the previous clash, struck again as the sun reached its zenith. This time, their tactics were more calculated. Small groups infiltrated the outskirts, drawing the guard away from strategic points. Fires blazed, panicked cries filled the air, and creatures fled into dangerous terrain. Kion's instincts flared, his roar vibrating with urgency, summoning allies, warning those in danger, guiding every move. The Lion Guard sprang into action, each member executing roles with seamless precision. Yet the battle was far from simple. Muga faced his own test. Separate from the guard while leading a herd to safety. He encountered the enemy commander who had survived the first battle, a lion whose cunning had already cost many lives. "You are brave, little one," the commander sneered, eyes cold. "But bravery without experience is nothing. You will fall, and the pride you protect will crumble." Mua's heart pounded, fear threatening to cloud judgment. But he remembered Kion's lessons, the training he had endured, the courage he had discovered within himself. He steadied his breath, relied on instincts, honed through preparation, and faced the enemy not as a cub, but as a lion ready to defend all he loved. The clash was fierce. Teeth clashed, claws struck, and the earth itself seemed to shake beneath the fury of battle. Muga dodged with agility, countered with strategy, and led the herd to safety while simultaneously engaging the enemy. Every move was calculated, every decision a reflection of wisdom tempered by courage. Kion, sensing the struggle, redirected part of the guard to support Muga, creating a coordinated effort that turned the tide. Uli's speed became a blur, striking the enemy where they least expected. Vesh's strength cleared obstacles and protected the vulnerable. Ono's keen eyes guided allies to advantage points, while Bunga distracted enemies with relentless audacity. Meanwhile, Kion faced the commander who had led the enemy forces. The battle between them was not only physical, but psychological. The enemy attempted to sow doubt, to exploit fear, to weaken Kion's resolve. "You cannot protect them all," the commander growled, attempting to pierce the young king's confidence. Kion's roar answered, resounding with authority, courage, and unyielding determination. "I do not fight alone. Strength comes from unity, from trust, and from the courage of those who believe in me. You will see that leadership is not claimed by fear, but earned by protection." The confrontation was epic. Kion and the enemy commanders circled each other, striking, dodging, and testing one another. Claws scraped stone, teeth clashed, and every moment seemed to stretch into eternity. Yet it was not sheer power that gave Kion the advantage. It was strategy, foresight, and the lessons learned from years of training, observation, and the battles that had defined him. Each movement was precise, anticipating the enemy's reaction, exploiting weaknesses without unnecessary risk, and inspiring those who fought alongside him to act with confidence. As the sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the plains, the enemy faltered. Spatting, exhaustion, confusion, and the relentless coordination of the Lion Guard turned the tide decisively. The commander, once confident, now faced defeat, forced to retreat with those who survived. The Pride lands had endured again, but the cost was visible: scorched earth, wounded allies, and the undeniable reminder that true kingship demanded vigilance, courage, and unwavering responsibility. In the aftermath, Kion gathered the guard atop Pride Rock, surveying the plains with a mix of relief and resolve. "Today we fought not only for survival, but for the principles that define us," he said, voice carrying across the recovering land. "True kings are measured not by how many they defeat, but by how well they protect, guide, and inspire. The battles are not over, and they may never be. But we have proven that unity, courage, and wisdom are stronger than fear, cunning, or cruelty." Morga, standing beside Kion, felt the weight of the lessons settle within him. He had faced fear, overcome doubt, and led with both strength and heart. He had learned that leadership is not about size or roar, but about understanding, strategy, and the courage to act when others hesitate. The hidden kingdom of challenges he had faced, the enemies he had confronted, and the unity he had witnessed formed the foundation of a lion who could one day rise as a true king. Nayfell, stars reflected in Mua's eyes, mirroring the lessons learned and the battles survived. Fires from the clashes flickered across the plains, a reminder of both the cost and the resilience of those who fought. Kion and the Lion Guard remained vigilant, knowing that peace was fragile, that threats could arise without warning. True kings are those prepared to act wisely and bravely at all times. Stories of this war would be told for generations. How courage overcame fear, how strategy defeated brute force, and how unity transformed chaos into triumph. The Lion Guard had faced their greatest challenge, and in doing so, had defined what it meant to be true guardians of the circle of life. They had proven that strength without wisdom falters, fear without courage crumbles, and loyalty and unity can achieve what power alone cannot. The war had shaped Kion and Muga, the Guard, and every creature who witnessed the battle. It had tested bonds, revealed character, and forged new leaders in the heat of struggle. And as dawn broke, on a land slowly healing, the Lion Guard knew that leadership was a path that demanded continuous vigilance, selflessness, and the ability to inspire others, not through fear, but through example. Mua's role in the battle had earned respect beyond his years. He had learned that heroism is not the absence of fear, but the mastery of it. That every choice carries consequences, net courage and wisdom together form the foundation of a leader who can face both enemies and uncertainty. Kion looked at him and saw not a cub, but a lion prepared to inherit responsibility, to uphold the values that make kings truly great. The story of the war that defined true kings would echo through time. Of lions who faced impossible odds, of battles where courage and strategy triumphed over fear and deceit, and of a young cub who grew into leadership through experience, unity, and unwavering heart. The Pride Lands had endured, stronger and wiser, because they understood that kingship is not a birthright, it is earned, tested, and proven in every trial, faced for the good of all. The stars rose over Pride Rock, illuminating the land with soft light. Kion reflected on the battles, the losses, and the victories. Every roar, every plan, every act of bravery had shaped them. True kings are not those who demand obedience, but those who inspire loyalty, courage, and wisdom in others. Muga, the young lion who had fought with heart, would carry these lessons forward, ensuring that the values defended in this war would endure for generations. The wind carried stories across the plains, whispering of courage, unity, and leadership forged in fire. Creatures looked to the Lion Guard with renewed respect and trust, understanding that vigilance, wisdom, and courage are what protect the circle of life. For Kion and Muga, the battle had revealed the ultimate truth. Leadership is not measured by the roar you make, the enemies you defeat. The land you command, is measured by the lives you safeguard, the loyalty you inspire, and the courage you cultivate in yourself and others. In the quiet moments after the war, as the Pride Lands breathed under a sky free of smoke, Kion and Muga stood together, watching the horizon. The enemy may regroup, challenges would arise, but the lessons of this war were permanent. True kings are defined not in moments of ease, but in the fires of conflict, in the choices made when every decision carries weight, and in the ability to lead with heart, mind, and spirit. The Lion Guard had proven themselves, not just as warriors, but as guardians of legacy, values, and life itself. Muga, now tempered by battle, courage, and wisdom, would rise to honor the circle of life, learning that the greatest victories are not in defeating foes, but in protecting those who cannot protect themselves, and in leading with integrity. The war had ended, but its lessons endured, shaping the Pride Lands and its leaders for generations to come, and cementing the legacy of lions who faced the impossible and emerged as true kings.